Hey, if you're enjoying these writing lessons and want to practice your writing, then get even more writing lessons and printable writing practice sheets inside our learning program. So sign up for a free lifetime account right now. It takes less than 30 seconds. Just click the link in the description to sign up and start learning in seconds. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, we're going to talk about an introduction to email writing. So I have email writing here, but this is email writing especially for business or for other formal situations. We're going to talk about the format, the general format of an English email, and we're going to talk about some patterns that you can use maybe to explain yourself or to introduce an idea, and so on. We'll see a few examples. So let's get started. All right, first I want to take a look at the general format, the basic parts of an email, at least in terms of American English business emails. Simply put, we begin with a greeting, a simple greeting, the dear part of your letter. A greeting, perhaps then an introductory phrase or something that introduces the purpose, the reason you are writing the email. Following that will be any background information or any details you need to provide to make the purpose of your email clear. Following that, a closing statement, something to kind of wrap up to show your reader you're ending the message, and then a sign-off, which is really the final point before your name in the email. So we're going to talk about these points. Let's look at some patterns you can use in these emails. Let's begin with the greeting part of your email. If you don't know the person receiving your email, you can use the expression "to whom it may concern." This is kind of a classic line. Some people feel it's a little bit old-fashioned, but it's polite and most people are familiar with it. To whom it may concern just means the person related. So this email is to the person related to this inquiry, to this question. So it just means, in other words, I don't know who to address this email to, but please give it to the proper person, the appropriate person. This is a polite way to say that. To whom it may concern, to whom it may concern. We don't use this in speech. Just to whom it may concern is good for opening emails, for your greeting in emails. If, however, you do know the person you are sending the email to, you can begin with dear, then add Mr., Miss, or Mrs. The difference between Miss and Mrs. Mrs. is used for married women. Miss is used for unmarried women. If you don't know, is she married, not married, use Miss. Miss is the safer choice. You can also use a title like professor or doctor if you know that the other person is a doctor, has a PhD, is a professor, assistant professor. If you know their title, you can use that in the greeting. Dear Professor XYZ or Dear Dr. ABC, for example. You can also use department names here. So dear, maybe international department staff, for example. You can use the name of the department and staff. If it's a little bit more general, like you don't know exactly who to send it to, but you do know the department, you can use department staff there. So department name in this case. Okay, so once you have written your greeting at the beginning of the email, then you can go into your introduction and your purpose. So why are you writing the email? These are a few patterns that you can use. First, my name is. So if this is the first time you have contacted the other party, the other person, you can use this to introduce yourself. So in my case, my name is Alicia, and I am writing regarding and then your topic. So regarding means about. So you're putting this about statement before your topic. So my name is Alicia and I'm writing regarding studying English, for example. So your topic should probably be a noun phrase. So whatever it is, whatever the topic of your email inquiry is, you can put it here. A simpler one, maybe you already know the other person. You can say, I'm writing regarding your topic. So I'm writing regarding English studies at your school, for example. Another one, I'm writing to reach out about. So here I've used about. You can use regarding here too. Regarding just sounds a little bit more formal than about. So reach out though, this implies you're maybe introducing something or you want someone to do something for you. So I'm writing to reach out about a new event I'm planning. So maybe you're trying to gather support for a new event, for example. So to reach out, you're introducing something, you might be asking for help for something. One more. I'm writing to see. So here I have to see, meaning to check with you, in other words. I'm writing to see if you would be interested in. Would be interested in means in the future. Is there a chance you would be interested in something? Interested in, again, a topic. So I'm writing to see if you would be interested in coming to an event later this month. I'm writing to see if you would be interested in teaching a seminar in my school, for example. So this is something, again, you want the other person's participation or you want them to do something for you. You can ask about their interest here. This is much better than saying, please do this. So please do XYZ sounds too direct. Ask if the other person is interested in. Would they be interested in something? Much better introduction. Okay, so these are a few simple examples when you're making a request or when you're writing about a general topic. So how do you then explain some background and some details about this point? So if you are writing regarding like a question, maybe you ordered something from the company, there was a problem, or maybe it was a service transaction, some kind of like business transaction, that's your topic. So for example, my name is Alicia and I'm writing regarding a textbook I ordered. If you want to write and explain a problem, you can use a couple of these patterns, these top two. For example, I placed an order for a textbook on January 15th, but it hasn't arrived. It hasn't arrived. So here, the product I ordered, the date of my order, and maybe an order number would be good too. So after this statement, you can explain the problem. So for example, the textbook I received was wet, or the textbook was the wrong textbook. So you can explain the problem after this expression. So these are perhaps for orders or maybe a service situation. Let's look at the second pair here. If you're looking for someone to do a job for you, or if you want someone's participation in something, you can try using one of these patterns. Let's look at the first one. We're looking for someone to plus your task. So we're looking for someone to help us with data entry. We're looking for someone to teach English lessons on the internet. So would you be interested? Again, we have this same, would you be interested, as we saw up here, asking about their interest. So if you say, please do this, or do this for us, it's too direct. Use would you be interested. We usually say, would you be interested in participating? Would you be interested in teaching? Would you be interested in leading the lesson, for example? So ask, would that other person like to do that thing? Or are they interested in learning more? So here is one way to invite someone for something or to make a request of someone's time or a request of someone's skills. So here's one pattern. Another one. We're planning an event and would like to extend an invitation. To extend an invitation is a formal expression, which means we want to invite you. So this is our official invitation. To extend an invitation means to invite someone to something, but this is a formal expression we use. To extend means like to put something out, so like to make something longer. Imagine your arm coming out. To extend an invitation, like here on our hand. So we are planning a seminar and would like to extend an invitation to you, perhaps, as well. So this is for an event invitation, or maybe there's something else you would like to invite this person to. Like we're planning a conference and would like to extend an invitation to you to give a speech at the conference, for example. So there are many ways we can change this sentence to invite someone to participate in something. All right. Let's move on then to some closing messages. So after you've explained the background and the details and you've kind of asked the key question or explained the problem, then we can show the reader that the email is finished by including one of these expressions. These are just a few examples, but they're quite general. So first, thank you for your time. So this is good for maybe a simple inquiry, or if you're explaining a problem perhaps, and you just want to express your appreciation. Thank you for your time. That's a nice one. Another one, I look forward to hearing from you soon. I look forward to hearing from you soon shows you expect a reply from the other person. So it's a little bit of a push in this case. So I look forward to hearing from you soon. I look forward to receiving a reply from you soon. You're expecting a reply in a timely fashion. You're expecting a reply in a reasonable amount of time. One more, if there is any additional information I can provide, I would be happy to prepare it. So this means if there's something else, additional information here, if there's any additional information that the other person needs, you, the writer of the email, are happy to prepare that information. So in other words, this is an invitation. If you need something, please let me know. I will prepare that. So these are a few nice sentences you can close your email with. Then the final part in email writing is the sign-off. So there are many different sign-offs. Here are a few that I feel are common and easy to use and polite as well. Sincerely is good. Sincerely is quite basic. You can use that in most situations without trouble. It just sounds quite, I guess, quite typical. It doesn't sound so warm, I suppose, but it's fine to use. Another one, I personally like to use best. So best shows, this is short. This is kind of an abbreviated expression of my best, or I wish you the best, but kind of short and a little more professional, I feel, best. Another popular one is warm regards, warm regards. In other words, my warm feelings, or like I mean this in the best way possible. I mean my email to be warmly received. Another one I've seen is kindly, kindly. So this one is in like a request or just perhaps an information related email, kindly. So meaning I intend this email to be read with kindness. So please don't mean that like I'm angry or anything. Kindly, kindly. Sometimes I see people use yours or sincerely yours. Those are too intimate. They are personal. So using yours implies that you have a personal relationship with the person reading the email, or it could be an intimate relationship. So yours is something I typically avoid in professional emails. Don't use love in professional emails either, or like my love or anything like that. Don't use that in your emails either. But stick with one of these and you should be just fine in most cases. So please just be careful. Don't use yours, don't use love as well. All right, but that's just a quick introduction to email writing, especially professional and business-related emails. I hope that that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, or if you want to try one of these patterns, or if you have a different pattern you like to use in your emails, let us know in the comment section below the video. If you liked the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other good resources. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to introduce some spelling tips. These are a few tips that I hope can help you to improve your spelling. I prepared these tips with English in mind, but I think some of these tips could work for other languages that you're studying too. So let's get started. Okay, the first tip and the most important tip for improving your spelling is to read. Reading is really, really important because you can actually see the words on the page. So especially in English, there are many words that are pronounced differently from the way they are spelled. Reading can help you familiarize yourself, can help you better understand the correct way to spell a word, not just listening to the word, but actually looking at the word. So reading is very important. When you read, however, there's one thing that's good to keep in mind. There's one thing that's good to think about. So choose books or newspapers or magazines for reading, but what you should do is make sure you read and listen to things as well. I'll talk about this. Read things that have been edited. Edited means someone checked the text to make sure there are no errors, there are no mistakes. So make sure that you are reading things that have been checked. A lot of native speakers, especially on like social media such as Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, they'll post messages, sure, but they're not checked, like the English is not properly checked, or they're using very informal English. So when you read and when you're practicing your spelling, paying attention to the words when reading, make sure you're choosing things that have been edited so that you can be sure you're reading proper English. Sometimes when we're speaking casually or writing casually, we don't think very much about our grammar or our spelling. So please make sure to use materials that have been edited for your spelling studies. I mentioned also listening. If you like, another thing you can do as you read is choose a book that has an audio version. So that means as you read the book, you can listen to the pronunciation at the same time. Of course, if you're busy too, you can just listen to the audio and learn the story. But if you want to practice your pronunciation and listening skills in addition to your spelling and reading skills, you can consider trying an audio book. So you read along and listen at the same time. So this could be another interesting way to practice a few skills at the same time. But this is the most important tip for this lesson, is to read. Read lots. And this is something you can do every day as well. If you find an online magazine or a newspaper or something similar that you enjoy, you could read it on your way to work, for example, or maybe during lunch, for example. Just a few minutes here and there each day to practice your reading skills and to boost your spelling skills. Okay, let's move along to the next tip. The next tip here is to play word games or to do word puzzles. We have a lot of these in English. I've given a couple examples here. So word games and word puzzles are similar. I'll introduce first what's called a crossword puzzle. So this is what a crossword puzzle looks like. A blank crossword puzzle, this is a brand new one, a simple one I made, is made from boxes. The boxes go from left to right and from top to bottom. When you play a crossword puzzle or when you try to complete a crossword puzzle, your job is to read clues that are next to the puzzle. Each clue matches with a row or a column of boxes. So your job is to find the word that matches this clue. And you have to spell the word correctly to put the letters into the boxes. So I prepared a very simple one here. So I've numbered these as 1, 2, and 3 going down. So here I have hints 1, 2, and 3. Again, this is very simple. Usually crossword puzzles are very big and they have lots of clues. But just to show you how a crossword puzzle works. The first clue here, number 1, this says a yellow fruit. A yellow fruit. So a yellow fruit is a lemon. So we place each letter in the box, L-E-M-O-N. We know the spelling is correct, or we can have a pretty good guess, at least, that the spelling is correct because it fits in the box. Then we look at the next clue, number 2 down here. Number 2, oh sorry, I made a mistake. Number 2 should actually be here. Number 2 is eye accessories, eye accessories. So an accessory is a small piece of clothing or like jewelry, for example. In this case, it's for your eyes. So eye accessories, that's glasses. So we write glasses with one letter in each box, glasses, and it fits here. It also fits with the L from lemon from our first clue. So glasses is here. Finally, the last clue down here, the clue is something that costs no money, something that costs no money. So a word we can use to describe this is free, F-R-E-E. So this is a very simple example of a crossword puzzle, but your job is to fit the different vocabulary words together. Like I said, this is simple, but there are lots more challenging ones out there. If you're interested in crossword puzzles, you can do a quick Google search and you can find beginner crossword puzzles, more difficult ones, and there are some extremely challenging ones that you need to know a lot about, like history or science or pop culture, to find the answers. But this is a really fun way to improve your spelling because you have to make sure to have the spelling right in order to finish the puzzle. You can do this alone or with friends. It's fun. Another thing, you can play word games. Word games. So this is kind of a more general thing. I've listed a couple examples of word games. There's one very popular and very well-known word game called Scrabble. It looks similar to a crossword puzzle, but the difference is there are no clues, there are no hints. You play with a group of people, and each person has to make words from the letters. So imagine you have a lot of little single letters, and your job is to create words from those letters. You put the words on the board, and your friends make new words from the words that you choose. So this is a fun way to practice spelling and to kind of think about other things that you can do with the letters that you have. So this is kind of a fun way to practice spelling, I think. If, however, it's difficult for you to get this game or to play this game, you could try this game, Words with Friends. This is a free application, so if you have a smartphone, you can find this online. It's called Words with Friends. It's basically Scrabble, but it's online and it's free. So you can find a partner somewhere in the world. You don't have to talk to that person, but you can play this game, building words from the words your partner makes and so on, and you try to compete, you try to get the top score in the game to win. So if you want to practice word games, you can try these. There are other word games as well. If you do a quick Google search, you can find some other examples of word games, but these are quite popular. Okay. Finally, there is spelling contests. I included spelling contests here because this is something that we do in the USA, at least. We have a spelling contest for kids that's called the Spelling Bee. So you might have something similar in your country, or you might be interested in participating in the Spelling Bee if you are a young person in the USA. So with spelling contests, each contestant has to spell a word correctly. However, the person has to rely on his or her knowledge of words. So that means maybe the root of the word's history, like where did the word originally come from, how the word is used in a sentence, the part of speech, and so on. So this could be an interesting way to practice your spelling and to practice the history of words. So spelling contests can be fun. Of course, if you don't have an official spelling contest, you can just create a spelling contest with your group of friends. Okay, let's move along to the next tip. The next tip I have here is to memorize some basic rules, some basic spelling rules. So I've included a few examples of just basic rules here. For example, words that end in a shun sound. We often use this T-I-O-N spelling to spell that sound, shun. Another example is words that end in G-H, like enough or rough. So this is an example where the spelling is different from the way it sounds. You might think we should use an F to spell this word, but enough actually ends with a GH. There are words that end in able or the similar I-B-L-E, like possible, for example, or capable. So remembering these kinds of word endings can help you because they're very, very commonly used. And if you understand how to spell the word roughly, like this, you at least have this sort of rule in your mind. It can help you when you're reading and when you're trying to spell the word. However, there are some cases where you need to remember that the rules are not perfect. So I marked it rules here because it's not like 100% a rule. So a great example is this really common expression. I learned this in school, but this is actually not 100% true. It's helpful sometimes. This rule is I before E except after C. This is a very common spelling rule, which means we should always put I first, I before E. However, when you're spelling a word and C is in the word, we should not follow this rule. That's what this means. So it's kind of helpful in some cases, but there are some situations where this rule is not effective. It doesn't work. So examples where it is okay. Here, receipt. So here we have a C, and the E comes first, the I comes second, which is the opposite here. That's correct. In this word, fried, it's correct. There's no C. So the I is before E, I-E-D. We see the same thing in this word here, cried as well. So in these examples, it's correct. However, here are a few examples where this rule is not correct, like weird. The E comes first, the I comes second in this word. Weird means strange. Another example, the word height, referring to how tall something is. The E is first, the I is second. Here, the word science, there's a C here, but the I still comes before the E. So remember, if you hear a rule like this or some kind of, expression to help you with your spelling, try to remember that it's not always a perfect rule. They're very helpful sometimes, but you need to consider that there are some exceptions, some things that don't quite fit the rule. Okay, let's go on to the next spelling tip. The next spelling tip is to watch English media with subtitles. To watch English media with subtitles means like movies, TV, YouTube videos as well. So read and listen to the pronunciation at the same time. So the words appear at the bottom of the screen in English. That means not necessarily watching in your native language, but you're listening to the person speaking in English and you're reading the subtitles in English. So you can find a new word perhaps that way, or you can better understand the spelling that way too. So this can be a fun tip if you know a movie very well, for example, you've seen it many times, you might try to watch it with English subtitles to pick up some new things that you never noticed in the movie before. So this is another fun thing you can do, and you can enjoy media while you study. Okay, so those are a few spelling tips. Remember, the most important thing to do here is read. I really recommend reading. It's fun too. But those are just a few things that you can do to hopefully improve your spelling. If there's something else that you like to do that you think has helped you to be a better speller, please let us know in the comment section of this video. If you have questions or comments or just want to share something as well, please feel free to write it in the comment section too. If you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye. And internet and texting phrases. These are acronyms, so words that are made from the beginning letter of other words. You'll see. Let's get started. Okay, LOL. The first word, or the first acronym, is LOL. You can read it as LOL if you want. LOL stands for laugh out loud, or laughing out loud. We use this in text and on the internet when something is funny. You receive a funny picture? LOL. You see something funny in a video? LOL. You read something funny? LOL. So LOL is used to express laughter. In a sentence, what a funny picture? LOL. GOAT. Next is GOAT. It spells goat, but it actually means greatest of all time. Greatest of all time. GOAT. This is this acronym. GOAT. So you can use this after something that you think is really great, like the best of something, the most amazing of something. You have an amazing, amazing lunch, and you take a picture, post it on Instagram. GOAT, like this salad, something like that, or like in this sentence I made of that Beyonce performance, GOAT, like greatest of all time. So you think something is the best, you can use GOAT for that. Okay, FYI. Next one is FYI. FYI is used in text and internet communications, but we also use it in speech. We can also use FYI in speech. It's okay in business as well. FYI means for your information. For your information, blah, blah, blah. Just giving you some information. So anytime you want to provide extra information, you can use FYI. So FYI, the barbecue is still on tomorrow, though it's going to rain. Or FYI, I'm leaving in 30 minutes, so if you need to talk to me, do it now. Or in this sentence, FYI, I have to leave early today. BRB. The next one is BRB. BRB. BRB means be right back. Be right back. I'm going to go away for a moment and come back very quickly. So be right back means very soon I'm coming back. Be right back. BRB. Sometimes, especially young people, use BRB in speech as well. Like they're leaving the room for a moment, BRB, and then they come back too. So some of these words are used actually in speech, particularly among young people. In a sentence, I'm gonna grab a snack, BRB. OMG. The next one is extremely popular. The next one is OMG. OMG means oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, very, very useful expression. You can use OMG for surprise, for anger, for sadness, for any extreme emotion, causes surprise, causes some... Whenever you want to use oh my God to express an extreme emotion, you can use this. So you see something funny, OMG, LOL. You can combine these, like the first word, LOL. OMG, LOL, that video, ha ha ha. You can use he 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 and ha 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 for laughter, by the way. I use that, H-E-H-E-H-E, or H-A-H-A-H-A. So you can use that or you can use LOL. But OMG, oh my God, that's what we use to express that feeling, that shock feeling, OMG. So in a sentence, we could say, OMG, I can't believe it. Or, oh my God, I can't believe it. Okay. What? The next one is W-U-T. Actually, sorry, this one is not an acronym. This is not an acronym. It's a misspelling, actually. So the pronunciation of this is what? What? So a very strong U sound. This comes from the word what, W-H-A-T, what, but we use a misspelling on the internet and with text and stuff to imply like kind of a dumb feeling, like when you want to say what, like you're confused about something, but the situation is very, very dumb, or it's just it's hard to understand or confusing, or doesn't make sense. You can use what? It has like a very like kind of dumb sound. The same U sound in dumb is in what. So it's like what instead of what, which has a stronger A sound. So we use what in situations where, yeah, something doesn't make sense. So like, my roommate didn't come home last night. What? So it's something that's a little bit confusing. That might be a little more of an extreme example, actually. In this sentence, your roommate wants a dog but doesn't want to pay for it. What? So again, this is something that's used more in text. It's hard to make this sound accurately in speech, I suppose. It's hard to detect. But when you spell what incorrectly, W-U-T, it gives the impression that the situation doesn't make sense, it's kind of stupid or strange, and it shows you are confused. It shows something doesn't make sense to you. So this is more common, well actually this is primarily used, this is mostly used in text only. We don't use it so much in speech. Okay. BTW. The next one is BTW. BTW means by the way, by the way. Young people will use BT dubs or, BT dubs instead of BTW in conversation. By the way is just giving extra information about something. So like anytime you would use by the way in conversation, you can use BTW on the internet. I don't recommend this for business emails or business writing, but in like on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so on, you can use BTW to mean by the way. Very convenient. In a sentence, BTW, can you give me back the money you owe me? AFAIK. The next one is AFAIK. AFAIK means as far as I know. As far as I know. This expression means with the information I have, here is my understanding of the situation. So as far as I know means my understanding is blah, blah, blah. So as far as I know, our barbecue is going to happen at 3 tomorrow. Or as far as I know, the meeting is still on for today. Or as far as I know, I'm dog sitting for my neighbor this weekend. So according to my information, this is the situation. As far as I know. AFAIK. Okay, one more. AFAIK, we're still meeting on Sunday. iirc. The next expression or the next acronym is iirc. iirc means if I recall correctly. Recall means remember. If I recall correctly. So meaning, if my memory is correct, this is the situation. If I recall correctly, Spider-Man's real name is Peter Parker. Or if I recall correctly, donuts have no calories. LOL. So if I recall correctly, Tokyo is the capital city of Japan. So this is like, if I remember correctly, or if my memory is correct, this is what I think, or this is the information. iirc. So you might see this like on message boards and discussion boards in particular here. One more sentence. iirc, we're supposed to meet in front of the station. DM. The next one is DM. DM means direct message, direct message. So this is very common on like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Very common on social media and other social media portals. DM, direct message. So for example, on Twitter, we can send public messages among users, but to send a direct message means other people cannot see that message. So a DM is a direct message to someone. So in a sentence, you could say, DM me your email address. 10 ways to improve your writing. So let's go. Don't use text speak. Okay, so the first tip to improve your writing is don't use text speak. Text speak. By that, I mean, for example, like BRB or LOL or those kinds of words. The words that you use on the internet, like SNS or in text messages with your friends, those very short, like slang words, TTYL or LMAO or those sorts of acronyms, do not use those in your formal writing. If you are writing a letter, a business email, whatever, do not use those. The only one that you can use in a business email, so not in a letter of recommendation, not in a formal letter, but the only thing you can use that's sort of text speakish is the acronym FYI, which means for your information. You can use FYI in a mail to your colleagues and an email to your colleagues or your coworkers, but usually it's with somebody you have a good relationship with. You can say FYI in those cases. Other text speak, other acronyms like that, don't use them. You will sound immature, you will sound too casual. Not a good idea. Use proper punctuation. The next hint is to use proper punctuation. Proper punctuation. Punctuation, for example, we have commas, we have periods, semicolons, colons, apostrophes, quotation marks, parentheses. All of these are punctuation marks, the little points in our writing that tell readers where to stop reading or how sentences are connected. Using proper punctuation in your writing will help your reader understand you. And if your reader understands you well and you've used proper punctuation, you will also look a bit smarter too. If you're not using proper punctuation, like for example, if you forget to use an apostrophe in a word, it's gonna look kind of bad, honestly. For example, if you use the word your, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, if you leave out the apostrophe, if you just write Y-O-U R-E, it looks lazy. It looks lazy. So make sure to use proper punctuation to avoid appearing lazy. So don't forget your little periods, commas, semicolons, all that. Don't repeat the same vocabulary words. The next tip is don't repeat the same vocabulary words. Don't repeat the same vocabulary words, she says, repeating the same sentence. But don't repeat the same vocabulary words means if you are using like an adjective, a specific adjective in a sentence, don't use that same adjective in every other sentence. Like try to use different adjectives to describe your points. If you are always using exactly the same words to describe your point, like if, for example, I want to write about cake. If I want to write an article about cake, and I just say, this cake is delicious. This cake is so delicious. I loved this cake because it was delicious. This was so delicious. It's boring for the reader to read the same word every single sentence, and also you're not really communicating very much. If I just use the word delicious to describe a cake, the reader doesn't understand why the cake is delicious. So give more detail. When you're sharing your opinions, of course, this time it's a very simple opinion about delicious cake, but use a variety of different adjectives. Support your arguments with statements that use different vocabulary words. So don't always say the same word to describe something. Try to use a lot of different vocabulary words and think a lot about different adjectives you can use. If this is difficult for you, there is a tool you can use. The English word for it is thesaurus. So many of you know what a dictionary is, a book or a resource to check the meaning of a word. But you can also use what's called a thesaurus. With a thesaurus, you can search for synonyms, words which have the same or similar meaning as other words. So if I look for the word like delicious, I might get, let's see, some synonyms for the word delicious might be yummy, tasty, good, delectable, for example. So there are a whole range of other words that you can use. If you find that you are using the same word in every sentence, try to find a different word. You can use a thesaurus to help you do that. So avoid using the same word in every sentence, or avoid using this repeated vocabulary words. Avoid use of very and really. Okay, the next tip is to avoid the use of very and really. By this I mean, instead of saying, to go back to my cake example, the cake was very delicious, the cake was really delicious. Very and really are sort of lazy words. Of course, they're very, very useful. They're very, very useful when we're speaking casually and when we're thinking quickly. But if you're writing and you have some time to think about what you're writing, instead of using a word that's common, like delicious, and just attaching very, like this cake is very delicious, what's a different word that means very delicious? So can I replace very and delicious with one different word? Like scrumptious, for example. This cake is scrumptious. Scrumptious means very delicious. It's only one word. So if you can do this, if you apply a word that means the same thing as very or really plus another word, it's going to level up your vocabulary and you're going to reduce the number of words in the sentence. So if I say, this cake is very delicious, or if I say, this cake is scrumptious, scrumptious has a much stronger meaning than just very delicious. So avoiding the use of very and really can level up your speech quite significantly. So give it a try. Use transition words and phrases. The next tip is to use transition words and phrases. Use transition words and phrases. So transition words are words and phrases we use to move from one idea to the next idea. So continuing in my cake example, if I want to introduce my scrumptious cake, and then I want to move on to a description of the store that sells that cake, I might use a transition phrase or some kind of sequence phrase to help me do that. So if in paragraph A, I'm talking about my scrumptious cake and how much I enjoyed it and the chocolate flavors and the amazing frosting, I could use a transition phrase. For example, by the way, if you're interested, you can purchase this cake at ABC store, for example. So in that case, my transition phrase was by the way, a very casual transition phrase. Depending on the kind of thing you're writing, you can use different transition phrases. If you're writing an academic paper, for example, when you want to add information, you can say additionally, moreover, furthermore. You can also use plus if you'd like to add information. In addition is another one that you can use. So when you want to add information, there are some transition phrases or some ways to give more information. To describe a sequence, you can say next, then, following that. You can use your words like first, second, third, fourth, depending on the sequence. You can say subsequently or consequently as well. So think about the relationship between the points you're introducing. Think about all these different relationships. How do you want to connect these ideas? So instead of just listing your points, each point, try to think about how to connect those points naturally. So depending on what you're writing, the words you use will change, which is fine, but just think about the way you'd like your reader to understand your information and choose transition words and phrases accordingly. Organize your writing. Intro, body, conclusion. Okay, the next one is a tip about organization. So the next tip is Organize your paper or organize your writing into an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So these are the three basic elements of an academic paper or of an essay, perhaps an article as well. Introduction is, as it sounds, it's introducing the main points. What are you going to talk about? What is your opinion? What is your argument? We introduce that in the introduction. Then the next part is the body of the paper. In other words, the main points, your real arguments, everything you would like to say about the things you introduced in your introduction. This is where you get into the details of that. So the body of the paper is typically the longest part of the paper or the longest part of the essay. So there's a lot of information in the body section. Finally, the conclusion. The conclusion of the paper concludes or finishes the paper. In the conclusion, you will summarize your points from the body of the paper, and you should connect those points to the items you introduced in the introduction of your paper. So all of these elements, these three elements, should connect together. So if you are finding that it's difficult to organize your thoughts or you don't know how to approach your paper or this item, maybe even an email you're writing, you can try to separate it into three sort of categories: introduction, body, conclusion. So introduce idea, explain idea, summarize idea. This can be very helpful in writing. Avoid use of second person. Okay, the next hint is avoid use of second person. Second person. This is going to take a little explanation. So in English writing, we have three sort of ways that we can write. We can write in first person, which means, for example, I went to the store. I wanted to buy something. I met a friend. So first person, I am the person sharing the story, sharing the information. In second person, which is kind of rare actually, except in very casual styles of writing, the subject of the sentence is you. Like, you go to the store, you buy some milk, you call your friend. This is kind of rare. We see this in children's books and, like I say, in sort of informal articles online. Third person style writing is using he, she, and character names. Like, he went to the store, she called her mother, they needed to see a doctor. So there are these three types of writing in English language. So first person, second person, third person. Generally, when you are writing, especially an academic paper, you'll use first person or third person to do that. If you're writing something formal, you should probably not use second person. Sometimes you'll see like a person describing an experiment, for example, like you should submerge the item in water, or you should bake this at 350 degrees. Using you is fine in casual situations, when you're giving instructions, for example. If you find it in a recipe, fine. It's kind of sounds a bit more casual, it's very informal, not so important. However, if you find that you are using you in an academic paper, it sounds a bit too casual, too informal. So please avoid use of second person. So reminder, second person is the subject of the sentence is you. So it sounds like you're kind of commanding the other person, commanding the reader, or giving advice to the reader, or telling the reader what to do. It sounds very odd. So avoid use of second person in your writing. Consider the tense you're using. The next tip is to consider the tense you're using. Consider the tense you're using. So I'm just going to talk about two tenses here, really. Present tense and past tense. So we can use the present tense and the present continuous tense, really, to explain a story or to tell a story like it's actually happening. So if I say, like, I go to the store, I see a friend of mine, she's buying milk, for example. If I use the present tense and I use the present continuous tense, it sounds like the listener, or if it's in writing, it sounds like that's actually happening. It's easier for the listener or the reader to kind of experience the story in that moment. So if you want to create some tension in your writing, if you want to create some excitement, you can use the present tense and its associated tenses to kind of heighten the energy level. If you use past tense, however, you might create more of a report nuance. So for example, when you watch the evening news or you read the newspaper, you might find that it's written in past tense. It's just reporting information. What happened? So simple past tense is used. Past tense and the other associated tenses in past tense are used. So when you're writing, Consider, what do you want the reader to feel, or what do you want the reader to experience? Are you writing a report? Maybe you should just use past tense. Are you writing about general facts? Then if you're writing about a general fact, you should probably use present tense. But if you want to create like a fiction story, for example, and you want your reader to experience the story and kind of feel enthusiastic or energetic about your story, present tense and maybe continuous tense with present would be a better choice. So just think about which tense you're using for your writing. Consider appropriate vocabulary. The next tip is to consider appropriate vocabulary. Consider appropriate vocabulary. So depending on the type of thing you're writing, there are words that are good to use and there are words that are not so good to use. If you're writing an academic paper, for example, don't use casual words. Don't use curse words in your paper. Don't use anything that could be interpreted or could be understood as informal. If you're writing something very casual, on the other hand, it's fine to use casual words. It's fine to be informal, to be a little bit funny. And it might sound strange if you do use informal words or extremely polite words. So consider the appropriate kinds of vocabulary words to be using depending on what you're writing. Learn to use references. Okay, the last tip is maybe the most difficult tip. The last tip is learn to use references. Learn to use references. This is especially important if you are writing academic papers or if you are writing something you're going to publish in like a journal or maybe even a magazine. Using references means you are using references, reading references, and writing about them, and including what's called a citation in your writing. So you're taking a piece of something that someone else has written, putting it in quotation marks, perhaps, depending on the way you choose to cite it, and then adding a reference list at the end of your document to show which documents you referenced, which documents were important to you in making your argument. So if you can use references in your writing to support your argument, it can be a very, very good tool. So if you have just kind of an opinion piece, you want to write an article, even for the internet, for example, it can be very, very helpful to support your argument with links to other references, with links to other information about your opinion. So yes, it's most important, it's most focused on in academics, in academia really. But if you're writing even for the internet, learning how to reference properly, learning how to include others' works properly in your work can be extremely valuable. So try that out. It's a big topic, it's a difficult topic, but learning how to use references can really help you improve your writing. Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alicia, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. First question this week comes from Hardik Patel. Hi Hardik. Hardik says, how can I improve my spelling? Yeah, this is an important question and we did a live stream about this topic. So I'll quickly introduce the key points we talked about in the live stream and hopefully they can help you as kind of a starting point. So the first and most important thing to do to improve your spelling is read. And make sure that you read things that are properly edited, properly prepared. So this means I don't recommend, for example, social media posts because not everybody is preparing everything thoroughly before they write it. It's not being checked, it's not being proofread before it's being posted. So I would recommend books and magazines and newspapers, that kind of thing that has been properly edited and properly checked. This is important because you're not just listening to the words, you're actually reading the words. You're reading the words on the page, so you're getting familiar with how the word should be spelled instead of just how it sounds. Some other things that you can do are word puzzles. Word puzzles are a lot of fun. In the live stream, I talked about something called crossword puzzles. Crossword puzzles are word puzzles. You need to know some vocabulary words. You also need to know some like history perhaps, or science, or maybe pop culture. And then you need to put your knowledge together with your spelling knowledge to create like the finished version of a puzzle. So a crossword is really fun and you can find beginner level crossword puzzles to try. So as you practice, as you learn more English and as you learn more about other topics too, you can level up the difficulty of your crossword puzzle. So that can be a fun way to do it. Another thing that you can do is join a spelling contest. Depending on where you live, you may have a spelling contest in your city or in your country. In the US, we have something called the Spelling Bee. It's for kids, yes. So if you're watching this and you are a kid, if you are a young person who's studying, you can look for a spelling bee if you are in the USA, or maybe there's a similar spelling contest in your country. So those are great ways to practice your spelling because it's a contest. You're competing with other people to spell the word correctly. So that can be a fun way to do things if you are a student, if you are a young person. Another thing you can do, regardless of your age, is watch English media with subtitles. So again, like I mentioned for the reading point, make sure that the subtitles have been properly prepared. If it's someone who has like created subtitles that are maybe not perfect or they were prepared by a non-native speaker, there might be some errors in there. So if you can, try to find media like movies or even our videos, for example. Sometimes they have subtitles. You can try watching that with the subtitles on so that you can understand the spelling of the words as they're being said. So that's another fun way to study, I think. Really though, I think reading is the best thing that you can do. This was something I loved to do when I was a kid. I participated in a spelling bee when I was a kid, and I think that reading really helped me understand the correct way to spell words and to like learn how to identify new words in the future. So read. I think that's the best thing you can do. Thank you for your question and good luck with your spelling. Let's go to our next question. Next question comes from Nor Aslina. Hi Nor. Nor says, hi Alicia, my question is, what is the difference between I'm looking and I've been looking? We use I'm looking for when we are in the act of searching for something. Right now, in this moment, we're looking for something. So for example, at like a department store, you could say, I'm looking for shoes. I'm looking for the restroom. That's something that you're doing right now. You're in the act of doing something right now. On the other hand, I have been looking for is used for something that, yes, we're searching for it, but the search has continued for a long time. So for example, I've been searching for a new apartment for 4 months, or I've been searching for a new job. In general, if you are in the act of searching for something right now, you can use I'm looking for. If it's something that you've been searching for a period of time, a long period of time, you can use I've been looking for. I hope that helps you. Thanks for the question. All right, let's move on to our next question. Next question comes from Lion. Hi again, Lion. Lion says, hi Alicia, I hope you're doing great, thank you. I have 2 questions. What are the rules of semicolons and when should I avoid them? There's 1. And 2, in some languages, a multiple choice test is called an American test. So is it true that American tests are really mostly multiple choice? Interesting. Let's go to your first question about semicolons. The quick version is, semicolons have 2 uses. The first use is they are used to separate what's called compound sentences. A compound sentence is a sentence that's made from 2 independent clauses. So there are 2 clauses, 2 parts to the sentence. An independent clause is a sentence that can stand alone, like we don't need any other words to explain this sentence. That's an independent clause. So when we connect these 2 in a compound sentence, we can use a semicolon to connect the 2, like right here. So let's look at some examples. An independent clause is a clause that is grammatically correct by itself. No other words are required. The semicolon is used to separate the 2 clauses like a period. We do this when the ideas are closely related. The second use is when you're separating items in a list. This can be tricky to do, but the reason we do this is because when you're making lists that have like lots of complicated information, they include commas, for example, it may be difficult to understand where the items in a list end or start, so we use semicolons to help readers understand the points in a list. Here's an example. This is a long list, so I'm going to read it. The citizens requested a new park, complete with a swimming pool, improved roads, sidewalks, and traffic lights, and cleaner schools. We have a few plans for our vacation: hiking, biking, and swimming near our campsite, having a BBQ, and enjoying fireworks. So you can see in these lists, actually all of the items have a semicolon in between them. That shows us that's one item. So
We do that because there are commas in other parts of the list. If we used commas to separate the items in the list, we might confuse the reader. So to show that each item is clearly one item, we use semicolons to do that. This is not as common, like there are not so many situations where you need to use a semicolon in this way, but just in case, this is the second use. In most cases, we just use the first one. You don't need to avoid using the semicolon. It's a very convenient way to punctuate your sentences, so you don't have to avoid it. You can use it. Just remember that you need to use it to separate independent clauses, like we talked about in the first use. As for your second point, that's very interesting. I didn't know that tests were called American tests. That's interesting. We do have a lot of multiple choice style tests for sure, especially in like high school and university levels for like official tests like the SATs, for example. However, we do have other styles of tests too. So we have fill in the blank, which I use a lot on this channel in the whiteboard videos. We also have like essay tests or essay examinations where students write essays. We also have like free answers, so a student has to come up with an answer like just from their own mind or using their own skills. We see that a lot in math classes, for example. So yes, there are a lot of multiple choice tests, but doesn't mean that all tests are multiple choice, just it is very common, so hope that helps. Okay, thanks for the questions. Let's move along to our next question. Next question comes from Dewey Sita. Hi again, Dewey. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Dewey says, what is the difference between below, under, underneath, beneath, bottom, and down? Nice, okay. There may be some differences depending on the situation, but generally speaking, let's look at the first 4 examples you presented. We can use all of these adverbs in the same way. Let's take a look at some examples. I keep my hairdryer below the sink. I keep my hairdryer under the sink. I keep my hairdryer underneath the sink. I keep my hairdryer beneath the sink. All of these mean exactly the same thing. The differences here is that probably I would say under is the most commonly used in American English. Beneath sounds perhaps the most formal and maybe the most old-fashioned. So you can use them all in the same way. They refer to being positioned under or like below something else. So there's not really much of a difference there. I think we just use under the most. The word bottom, however, that's a noun that refers to the lowest part or like the underside of something. Let's look at some examples there. There's dirt on the bottom of my bag. He cut the bottom of the pumpkin. So these refer to the underside or the lowest point of something. So it's an actual noun, not an adverb. Then the last word in this list is down. So down is also an adverb, but down refers to motion. So we use down when we're actually talking about movement of some kind. So for example, put your hand down or walk down the stairs. He sat down in the chair. So we're using some kind of motion. There's something happening from like an upper level to a lower level. There's movement happening there. So we use down to express movement. The first 4 words that we talked about are used to talk about position, not about movement. Down is used to talk about movement. Bottom is used to talk about a place on something. So I hope that helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, so that's everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending your great questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alicia. If you liked the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and check us out at englishclass101.com for some other resources for your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alicia, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. First question this week actually is a pair of questions. I got a question from Zohair, which was, hi Alicia, how are you? How can I improve my writing skills? And a question from Zirak. Zirak said, how do I improve my writing skills? So I want to answer these 2 questions together. So the simple answer is write more. So if you're having trouble starting your writing practice, something that you can try doing is copying. So if there's a blog, a magazine, a book that you enjoy reading, if there's something that kind of stands out to you, something that you think is really good or really interesting, you can start your writing practice by just copying the things that you find that you read. So if you find, for example, if you find a blogger that you really enjoy and it's easy for you to read, you can start by copying the lines from that blog. When I say copy, I mean write by hand, like with a pen and paper. Try writing those things by hand so you can kind of practice creating a sentence on your own. This can be a really good way for you to begin writing practice. Then, when you get a little more comfortable, you can try using your own words and your own vocabulary to kind of make your own sentences in the same style as your favorite writer. So I would say a good way to start writing and a good way maybe to improve your writing, making it more natural, is to just begin by copying other people. It's just a matter of practice. So keep practicing, keep writing, keep creating. I hope that this helps you. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question this week comes from Huang Ang. Hi, Huang. Huang says, how do I write a good paragraph in English? Okay, there's kind of a three-step process to writing a good paragraph in English. You can think of your paragraph in three parts. You can think of first an introduction, second, a body, and third, a conclusion. So in the introduction to your paragraph, the beginning of your paragraph, you should share the ideas you're going to talk about in the paragraph. So that's like your first sentence. What are you going to explain to your reader? What are you going to share in this paragraph? In the second part, the body of your paragraph, you should give the details. If you're explaining data, you can put numbers in that section, for example. If you're giving like quotes, if you're giving supporting information or supporting evidence, you can include that in the body part of your paragraph. This is your details. You can also include your opinions in this part of the paragraph. So what do you think? Third, your conclusion. The conclusion part should summarize your main ideas. So what do you want the reader to remember from this paragraph? And maybe, how does it connect to your next paragraph? So try to think about writing paragraphs in kind of this three-step process. You introduce something, you give details, and you conclude. So think about this for your paragraph, yes, but also think about this when you're writing a paper as well. You should have an introduction and a body and a conclusion to your paper. So I hope that this helps you in writing paragraphs, smaller pieces of writing, and in writing papers or essays, larger pieces of writing. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move along to your next question. Next question comes from Ahmed Mohammed. Hi, Ahmed. Ahmed says, hi, Alicia. How are you? Good. Why is it when I watch you or watch any other English teacher on YouTube, I understand them easily, but when I watch any programs on TV, like movies and news, I find it difficult to understand? What should I do to understand anything I listen to? Okay, so your first question, why can you understand the teachers on YouTube? This is a common question from lots of people, actually. The reason that you can understand teachers on YouTube, or maybe teachers in your classroom, is because we're doing what's called grading our language. So grading your language means that you choose to use vocabulary words and grammar points that are suitable for the learners. So that means that we choose our words and we choose the way that we speak to help learners understand us. So that means that we speak a little slower, we speak with very clear pronunciation, we're speaking with a level of grammar that we think our students will probably be able to understand, and we're choosing to use vocabulary words that we think are probably easy for learners to understand too. So when you're watching YouTube teachers, a lot of YouTube teachers, including us on this channel, we're thinking about how to help people at kind of an intermediate level, like a medium level. So I'm choosing grammar and vocabulary words and kind of the way that I speak to try to help people move into like intermediate to advanced intermediate language territory. So this is why there seems to be such a big gap between like YouTube teachers and regular movies and news. When you're watching movies and news, those people are not grading their language. So they're not aware of their vocabulary choices. They're not thinking about the level of grammar they use. They're speaking regularly. So the way that teachers speak is kind of a way to help learners ease into or get used to that native level of speaking. It can be really hard for learners to pick up all the small details of native level speech. So we slow it down and we present it in a different way to help learners. So when you get comfortable with people who teach like me on YouTube, you can kind of look for other things at higher difficulty levels. So maybe this means you find a vlogger on YouTube that speaks in English, or you start to find other topics or other things related to your hobbies, but that use English. So that will take a little bit of searching on your part, but just keep working on leveling up your language skills. So if I'm too easy for you to understand, that's okay. You can move on to find something else until you can gradually work up to understanding native level conversations. So that's a long answer, but I hope that it helps answer your question. Thanks very much. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Bakhtar Khan. Hi, Bakhtar. Bakhtar says, hi, Alicia. What is the difference between swear, vow, and oath? I don't understand the difference. Okay, swear. Swear is a verb. Swear is like a rough word that means promise. Some examples. I swear I won't break your computer again. He swore he wouldn't forget to take out the trash. Next is vow. The word vow can be used as a noun or as a verb. It's used in more formal situations. We use it, for example, in weddings or maybe in like legal situations. Some examples. Do you vow to take this woman as your wife? I vow never to do anything like this again. Oath is a noun, and it's kind of an old-fashioned word. It's sort of like an old-fashioned, mysterious word for promise. It kind of has a very mysterious, a little bit of a dark feeling, an oath. Examples. I took an oath to never reveal the details of our group. Have you ever taken a blood oath? So I hope that helps you understand the differences between swear, vow, and oath. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Yoshitaka Horikoshi. Hi, Yoshitaka. Yoshitaka says, hi, Alicia. I watched the video English Greetings for Every Day. It was easy to understand and fun. However, in the video, you said, where was I? What do you mean, where was I? Where was I? This is a common expression that means, where was I in my notes? So when you're reading something or when you're giving a presentation and you get lost, like in the details, like you have some notes, some kind of like reference material you're using to give your presentation and you miss like your place, you forget your place. You can say, where was I? Meaning, where in my notes was I? So we'll often use this when we're presenting material and we need to start again. So in that case, if I'm teaching a lesson and I like miss my place, if I forget my place in my notes, I probably said, where was I? Meaning, at what point was I in my presentation? So I would use this if maybe like a student had a question and I answered the question and then I forgot exactly where in my lesson notes I was located at that time. So where was I means like, what was I talking about a moment ago? I hope that helps you. Thanks very much for the question. All right, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Ayman. Hi again, Ayman. Ayman says, hi Alicia, what does stack the deck mean? To stack the deck means to prepare an advantage before a situation, before some kind of event. So the advantage is prepared so that one person or like one organization wins. So this expression comes from card games. First, we see a deck. So to stack the deck. The deck refers to a deck of cards. That's the vocabulary word we use to mean a complete set of cards, a deck of cards. To stack means to put things one on top of another. So when we stack a deck, or to stack the deck, as in this expression, it means we're placing cards in a careful, like organized manner to create an advantage for someone in a situation. So to stack the deck means before the situation, you prepare all like the parts to create a win for one person, or maybe to create a loss for another person. So to stack the deck means to create an advantage or a disadvantage for someone else. So some example sentences. The deck was stacked against him. In that expression, the deck was stacked against him means the situation was created so that he would lose. We use against someone to refer to creating a situation where a person loses something. So we stacked the deck just means we created an unfair advantage, or we created an advantage before the situation. So I hope that this helps you understand this expression. Thanks very much for the question. All right, that's everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending your questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alicia. Of course, if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alicia, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. Welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we're going to talk about commonly misspelled words. I'm excited about this because I like catching misspellings. Believe. To believe something just means to accept something as true or not true in the negative. Believe is commonly misspelled. Do they spell it believe? Well, believe is commonly misspelled. Don't do that. So if you're having trouble remembering the correct way to spell the word believe, consider that the word lie is in the middle of the word, which is kind of counterintuitive if you've been paying attention to the Weekly Word series. If you're trying to persuade a friend to do something, you might say, "Please believe me, this is going to be the best party ever. You have to come." Okay. The next is a lot. This is commonly misspelled because people like to put the and the lot together. It's actually two separate words, and lot. A lot just means a large number of something or a large amount of something, many of something. In a sentence, you might say something like, I have a lot of hobbies. I like skiing, snowboarding, and whitewater rafting. So just spell them separately. Don't put it all together. Oh, the next, there, and there. Students of English tend to be better about spelling these words than native speakers of English, and I find that very interesting. The first there, T-H-E-R-E, refers to a place, as in he lives over there. The book is over there, somewhere other than where you are right now. The second form, T-H-E-I-R, is the possessive form of they, as in that's their house, that's their dog, something that belongs to some other group of people. And the last form, T-H-E-Y'-R-E, they are, refers to a quality about another group of people, as in they are the students, they are the teachers. It's the contracted form of they are. Onward. The next word is grateful. Grateful, the meaning of grateful. Grateful just means that you're appreciative of something. In a sentence, you might say, oh, I feel so grateful. My teacher took time after class to explain this concept to me. Grateful is commonly misspelled because this G-R-A-T-E sounds just like the word great, G-R-E-A-T. But actually, that great, good meaning is not the correct spelling for this word. We use great instead. This spelling of great is also used as a verb, as in to grate things in the kitchen. I don't know if that has any relation to this or not. Probably not. It's G-R-A-T-E. Next is receive. Receive. To receive something as a verb means to be given something or to get something. Receive can be kind of tricky because of the I and the E, a place where the I before E except after C rule applies. It's not a 100% true rule, but typically after the letter C, if the letters E and I need to follow it, after the letter C, I is typically not the first letter to come. Usually it's E that's the first letter. So it should be C-E-I-V-E, receive, rather than receive, or something like that. In a sample sentence, you might say, I received a gift from my friend on my birthday. I was really happy about that. Welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about words with weird silent letters. I like the title of this one. Let's get started. The first word is pterodactyl. A pterodactyl is a dinosaur. This was a flying dinosaur from the late Jurassic period. I totally knew that on my own. Pterodactyl begins with a P, but we don't say the P. It just starts with a T sound. In a sentence, you might say, the pterodactyl is my favorite dinosaur. The next word is mortgage. My students messed up this word mortgage like last week in class. Mortgage has a T in it, but we don't say the T. It sounds like mortgage, like there's no T at all. A mortgage is the payment that you make on your house every month if you've had to take a loan from a bank. In a sentence, my mortgage payments are very reasonable, I hope. The next word is aisle. Aisle is a weird word. So yes, there's an S in the word aisle, but it is not pronounced Islay, it's pronounced aisle. Aisle, with an A in front, is the space between rows of seats on an airplane, for example, or the space between shelves in a supermarket. Any sort of pathway is an aisle. In a sentence, please keep your feet out of the aisle on the airplane because the cart might bump you. The next word is faux. Faux has an X at the end when it's spelled on paper, but we do not say folks. Folks? We don't say that. We say faux. Faux means fake. Faux means something that's not real. Very commonly, you'll hear this in terms of faux fur, as in, I prefer to wear faux fur because I don't believe that we should kill animals. All right, the next word is asthma. We were just talking about how I have asthma. Asthma is spelled very weirdly. There's a TH in there, but we do not say the TH. It sounds like ASMA, asthma. Asthma is a respiratory condition. You might have asthma, it's very common, where it might be difficult for you to breathe sometimes. You need to take medicine. In a sentence, I carry my inhaler everywhere because I have asthma. Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.